Hello again, Wise Bearded Dad here to give you an update on the Detroit Lions free agency moves and maybe look at my thoughts on the draft. Now, with that being said, I know it's been a couple weeks since I've posted. Had some personal matters I had to attend to, so it put this channel on the back burner. That being said, I'm going to start off talking about C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Easily the best free agent safety available, and the Lions got him. They got him for a nice one-year deal. Didn't overpay for him. Surprisingly, he wanted to come here. Now, the good thing about him, he was a top safety last year, and you can also use him in the slot. With Tracy Walker coming off injury, I think he is an immediate impact player. Even when Tracy Walker comes back, you'll be able to have 3 quality safeties back there at all times. You also look at what they did with Cam Sutton, I mentioned in the last video, and between those two alone, you have an upgrade. And they also brought in Mosley from the Niners. Mosley's coming off an ACL injury, but that being said, those are 3 starters, all of them from playoff teams, except for Cam Sutton. The Steelers, unfortunately. Now, they also brought back Graham Glasgow. I think that's a great signing too because it gives you great quality depth on the offensive line. He can play center, either guard spot. It's a wonderful veteran to have with that offensive line. That being said, again, it's only a one-year deal, so he might be gone next year. We don't know. The guy I'm really glad they brought back was John Kaminsky. If you look at the impact he had when he was able to come back and play, even with that broken thumb, he was able to help Aiden Hutchinson out on the other side just by him being a presence opposite of him. He ended up with 4 sacks last season, but he also had quite a bit of quarterback hurries. You got him for a good deal. You didn't overpay for him, and I believe you got him for 2 years. Now, the other signing I like too, and a lot of people weren't really happy with it when it happened, was David Montgomery. I know there's a lot of Lions fans out there that were really wanting Jamal Williams back, and I'll be honest, I like Jamal Williams as a locker room guy, but from everything I heard, he wanted to get paid. And Jamal Williams, he's a good back. He's not a great back. I'm not paying Jamal Williams top money like that. David Montgomery, if you look at what he's had in front of him in Chicago, he's never had an offensive line. Chicago has not put anything close to a top 15 offensive line in front of him. Now, he's going to have a top 3 offensive line in front of him. I would not be surprised if he gets 1,000 yards rushing plus next season. So just a heads up on that. So, kind of going over a little bit of my notes I had, but, when you haven't posted in 2 weeks, you're kind of sitting back and seeing what's going on. And unfortunately, I had to redo some of my notes. Now, originally, they didn't address the backup quarterback position. I know they re-signed Nate Sudfeld. I don't consider that addressing the backup quarterback position. Nate Sudfeld, no disrespect, he's not I wouldn't be comfortable going into the season with him as my backup. Honestly, I was hoping they would have went after Mason Rudolph or somebody else. That being said, the re-signed Nate Sudfeld, it is what it is. So what I'm hoping to see is the Lions take a quarterback in the draft, maybe 2. I don't know if they will because they did sign Nate Sudfeld. It is what it is. Now, there's a few that I like, and I know a lot of people aren't crazy about this guy, but if he was there at 6, I would not be upset if they took Will Levis. Now, hear me out on this. A lot of people say, dude, look at last year's stats. He wasn't that great or anything. Will Levis is athletic, he's accurate, and he's got a good arm. I don't believe he's as accurate as C.J. Stroud, but honestly, when it comes to it, I think C.J. Stroud is the best passer in this draft. And the thing is, though, if you look at Will Levis, the previous year, Pro Football Focus had him rated higher than Stroud. That year, he had a lot better talent around him, and he actually had an NFL offensive coordinator running the offense at Kentucky. So, I would take a chance on him as a developmental guy. At worst, I think he's a better backup than Nate Sudfeld. So, there's with that. My other notes I was talking about, they didn't really address the wide receiver position. Well, they brought in Marvin Jones, so I'm glad I waited to post this video. I'm glad to see Marvin Jones back here. I think he'll be a great addition. I think he's a good veteran guy to bring in. I don't know if he's going to be a starter, though. I think he's going to be a guy that comes in, they use on certain packages, or certain formations, Originally, I was hoping they would resign DJ Shark, but again, he ended up signing with Carolina. Take it for what it's worth. Maybe he didn't think he was going to get as many opportunities here in Detroit, but I'm all right with Marvin Jones. He's still got a little bit left in the tank, and he's a good quality receiver to have. Now, that being said, I would almost consider looking at drafting Quentin Johnson if the board falls the right way or whatnot. And if that's the case, your starting wide receivers would be Quentin Johnson, Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is a tremendous three wide receivers to have coming out starting. Had to get some coffee in me. I would also look at getting a scat back in the drafts at some point in time. Because you have David Montgomery, I don't think you need to go after Bijan Robinson. One, you're going to have to take him pretty high in the first round. I don't think you need to do that. You can get a guy who's more of a speed back later on, because I don't see the Lions re-signing DeAndre Swift. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. When he's healthy, he's good, but it's the point of he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And there's times, if you look, it almost seems like he's running scared. Like he tries to avoid contact, or he doesn't want to try and run through people. And I get it, he's a smaller guy, but you can't be afraid of contact. And I almost think they see that with DeAndre Swift. Just my opinion on that. Take it for what it is. Now, I mentioned earlier about Will Levis at 6. I don't know if the Lions will do that, but if I was going to get a quarterback, that's what I would do. Or Tanner McKee, maybe in the late second, early third round. Because you have to get somebody back there, unless you plan on re-signing Jared Goff. And the way Jared Goff's playing, he's going to want at least $40 or $45 million a year. I'm not paying Jared Goff $40 to $45 million a year. I can get somebody in. I can bring somebody in cheaper to do what he does with the tools around him. So just a heads up on that. If you don't want to take a quarterback this year, you got to take one next year, because if not, you're re-signing Goff and you're paying him. Granted, I like Goff. I don't want to pay him that kind of money. I don't think he's worth it. I mean, Daniel Jones with the Giants got $40 million. Goff by far outplayed him last year. If he outplays him this year, he's going to want easily $45 million a year. Why wouldn't he? So just my thoughts on that. Now, I see a lot of mock drafts having the Lions taking a tight end with the 18th pick. Well, I think they could use a tight end. I don't think they should take one in the first round. I mean, you got other options all throughout the draft. One of them is the guy from Old Dominion. I think his last name's Kuntz. I was watching him on the scouting combine. He's 6'7", just about 10 to 15 pounds lighter than the guy from Georgia. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, unfortunately. But you look at his measurables and whatnot, he's right there with that guy. And it's like, you know what, 6'7", I can just throw the ball up at you. Goff's very accurate, and I think that would benefit him. Now, if you don't want to take Tanner McKee or Will Levis, Clayton Tune, Aiden O'Connell, somebody, just please don't go into next season with just Nate Sudfeld back there. That would be a disaster in my mind. Now at 6, there's a couple options it's starting to seem like. And I know a lot of people weren't crazy about cornerback at 6. Now, if it falls that way, where they don't take Jalen Carter or he's not available at 6, or they don't take Tyree Wilson because they re-signed John Kaminsky, what I would do if they don't want to take Will Levis, I would honestly take Gonzalez. He's got the best measurables. He's got the best 40 time out of all corners. Obviously, he didn't run in the 4.2s like the guy from Michigan. But a 4.39 with his size and his vertical, I would absolutely take, because you got time to develop him. You don't have to throw him out to the starting position this year, because I don't see the Lions re-signing Jeff Okudah. Picking up that fifth-year option is going to be $11 million. He'd be making just as much, if not more, than Cam Sutton there's no way I'm re-signing him to that. That's just insanity. I would almost watch and see because he might even get traded. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at some point, either in the draft, beforehand, or afterwards. But I wouldn't be shocked if starting the season Jeff Okuda is not on the team. So just to give you a quick catch up on what's been going on, this video's been obviously my longest one, and again, off the cuff, didn't have anything planned out, but hope you like the information. And as always, stay wise, stay bearded.